The Samoa versus Chile is a match of the Rugby World Cup that is just around the corner. In this preview, we will be looking through at the two sides, also at their previous fixtures, and then coming up with a prediction at the end of how we think this match will go. But we will start by looking through at the Samoan team. Now, we haven't actually seen them in action throughout this Rugby World Cup as of yet, so we have very little information to base it off other than, of course, what they did in their Rugby World Cup warm-up games. But in the Samoan lineup, they have got James Lay, Seilala Lam and Michael Alatoa as the front row, Chris Vui and Theo McFarland as the lock-in duo, and then on the loose forward trio, Taleni Su, Fritz Lee and Stephen Luatua in the backline. Jonathan Tamatine and Christian Liliafano will get the nod at 10 rather than Lema Sapawanga. Nigel Wong out on the left wing. In the centres, it is Tamoa Mano and Ulapano Junior Saltini. Right wing, they have gone Danny Tuala, and then a number 15, Duncan Paiaua for the Chileans. They have made a few changes from what we did see in their last lineup up against Japan, which they were defeated by 30 points. But they will be looking for a lot closer game here. We saw some good moments from certain players in this Chilean team, and I'm hoping they will be able to have a decent showing here. In the front row, it is Javier Carrasco. Number 2, Thomas Ducelent. So he has actually replaced Diego Escobar, who was in the starting lineup for the last game. And then at number 3, they have stuck with Matthias Ditas. Did end up getting himself a yellow card in the last game up against Japan. Number 4, Pablo Huete. Number 5, Santiago Pedrero. Number 6, they have gone with Captain Martin Segrin. Probably a little bit lucky to be playing in this game, as he was very close to getting himself a red card in that game up against the Japanese. Clement Saavedra at number 7, and then at number 8 it is Raimundo Martinez. A good way to close out the Chilean fullback in the back line. The best player on the field by far for Chile in their first Rugby World Cup game, Marcelo Torrealba. He was absolutely everywhere, having some phenomenal runs, helping assist in a couple of the Chilean main plays. I'm hoping he has just as good of a game here, and if he does, perhaps a big contract could be just around the corner for him. Rodrigo Fernandez, he will be the starting 10, also scoring the first ever try for Chile in a Rugby World Cup. Jose Ignacio Larenas is out on the left wing. In the midfield, it will be Matthias Garafulik and number 13, Domingo Saavedra. So we've already heard that name. Of course, his brother is playing at number 7. Number 14, Santiago Videla. And then number 15, to close out the side, it is Inaki Ayarza. So not too many changes for Chile in that starting side, whereas Samoa, compared to what they had in that Irish game, they are actually also relatively similar. But looking through at the previous results for the Samoans, we do have to look before the Rugby World Cup, as they have not played yet. So we will look at their most recent 2 fixtures, the first of which was up against the Barbarians. They were able to get themselves a 28 points to 14 win over the Barbars. So a relatively good way to start up after the Pacific Nations Cup, in which they did actually get themselves a last win up against Tonga in that competition. Then their most recent game was up against the Irish. It was 17 points to 13 in favour of Ireland, but it was an extremely close fixture. Went down to the wire. Samoa almost were able to get themselves a monumental victory there over the Irish, but just narrowly ended up missing out. But it would have given them a lot of confidence heading into this Rugby World Cup now. Definitely showing that they can hang with the best of them when they are playing well. But for Chile, their most recent game that we will look at, it was a part of Pool D, which both of these sides, of course, are in, and that was up against the Japanese, 42 points to 12. They did start their match very well, actually getting the first try of the contest with Rodrigo Fernandez. But then from there, it slowly started dropping off for Chile. They weren't able to handle the intensity that Japan were bringing to them later on in the game, and the scoreboard started to replicate that as we made our way through the match. But for these two sides, of course, there will be certain key players to watch out for the Samoans. I'm looking at Stephen Luatua as the man off the back of that scrum, could be extremely handy, has that physicality, also has the ability of turning over the ball when it is in the breakdown. In the back line, I think Duncan Paiaua, with the fact that he's playing at 15, he also can play 13 or 12 if they need him to. But for this game, I feel like him at the back with his kicking boot might be exactly what Samoa need. And another player to watch out for the Samoans I'd have to go with Samoa Manu. He's been in some pretty decent form as of late. I feel he will be able to continue that into this matchup against Chile. For Chile, 3 players to watch out for. I'm going to start straight away with Marcelo Torrealba. He is an absolutely phenomenal talent, like I mentioned. Not many people had heard of this man up until that first game up against Japan, where he certainly made a name for himself. I'm hoping he backs it up with a good performance here. Also alongside him, Rodrigo Fernandez. That combination of the 9-10 worked beautifully last week. He is the first ever try scorer for Chile in a Rugby World Cup. And if he is able to play like he did last week, maybe he can be the first to score 2. And then the last man to watch out for, it would be a shame to go with all 3 backs rather than the forwards, but I am going to do so. I'm thinking Inaki Ayaza as the last man. He was absolutely everywhere for Chile, whether they were defending, whether they were on attack. His defense at times was a little bit shaky, but I think that was just due to the sheer amount of times that the Japanese were able to break through, and more times than not, it was a big man who was making that run. So Ayaza, he did his absolute best at the back. We're looking forward to getting on attack this game. I feel like him and Duncan Paiua are going to be having quite the kicking battle, but nonetheless, now we are up to the stage where we do try and predict what we think the score will be. Now we know that Samoa played Japan in the Pacific Nations Cup and they got themselves a narrow victory. Chile in this game, I feel like they will like the temperature a lot more. It's only supposed to be around that early 20s, maybe late teens for this game, so it shouldn't be too bad and they shouldn't get as fatigued as they did in the last game, but I still think that Samoa will be too strong. They've gone with a good 4 back here alongside that back line. Players off the bench looking to make a real impact in their first game of the Rugby World Cup. I think Samoa take this game, and I'm going to say it will be 38 points to 17 in this match. I actually think Chile might be able to get themselves a few points throughout this game, but I feel overall Samoa will be the side that is too strong and will get themselves their first Rugby World Cup win. But thank you all very much for tuning into this preview. We will be live on the channel doing the commentary for this match, so be sure to also check that out. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Do let me know your score predictions in the comments down below, and I will see you all for the next one.